back, everyone, to Bounce Off, the #1 SlamBall podcast. I am joined by a veteran SlamBall player, three-time SlamBall dunk champ, head training director for SlamBall Asia, coach of SlamBall Summer Season 6, including head coach of the Slashers, and considered by some to be the greatest SlamBall player of all time. It is, of course, Stan Fletcher. How are you doing tonight, Stan?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm
You
great.
said some. It's considered by some. If we talking about slam ball, I think I run the crowd. The only one I talk about is Jelani. That's
Jelani.
it. Other than if you ain't saying Jelani, then we ain't no question. I'm good.
He's who you
day.
consider competition?
Not competition. That's my brother. It's not really a competition. I wasn't really competing with nobody out there. Even though it's a sport, we just played that game so early. Like the competition didn't matter. It would, I was competing against like the NFL and the NBA and you know what I'm saying, not the people that was out there on the court. We was trying to make a new sport. So that the who won the match or not, I just want everybody to see this game and get an understanding of it, see how cool it is, and then take what we did, take it from there to go to the next level. So that was my only competition, was trying to make sure that we get some eyes on the sport.
So when you're thinking of best SlamBall player ever, it's not necessarily about things like championship wins necessarily or MVPs. It's more like who drew the most eyes, who was the most entertaining, who did the best at presenting the sport.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. Like, if no one's seen the sport and you ask them who won the championship, what they know, you could, probably 95% of the world that's seen slam ball probably don't even know who won the championship the first 3 seasons, 3, 4, 5 seasons. No one can tell you which team won. They can barely tell you your team name. They'll tell you your color. You get what I'm saying? So it wasn't about that. If you seen the guy in the yellow that was doing the thing, or you seen the guy in the brown that was doing the thing, that was me. That's okay. Yeah. So
that's fair. During the season, during Summer Season 6, I had a couple of co-hosts for a show we were doing called This Week in SlamBall. And one of my co-hosts was saying that right now they thought that maybe Gage Smith could take you one-on-one. Now, obviously, he's been the
play one-on-one in slam ball, first of all. So whatever they're saying makes no sense. And to be honest, I watched your podcast when I was out there, when I was in Vegas, when it was going on. And I'm just being honest. It felt like a little hate. It felt like a little hate from not from you, but like from you. You have one co-host on there that used to play slam ball. I could feel the little hate in his voice about it. You think about it from someone that probably reached out to slam ball and wanted to be a part of it, but then once they didn't get what they want out of it, they want to go and kind of like create a narrative that's not too flattering for the sport. That was kind of weak to me, especially coming from someone that probably got on the floor a few couple minutes for a whole season. You get what I'm saying? So you know how difficult this sport is to play. You know how difficult it is to understand how to work, how to ride the tramps and all that stuff. So, I felt like I should have heard a lot more support, from those voices. Like Coach Bear was on there with you guys, all the support in the world, but he came from a coaching standpoint, and he's in the sports world on his own without slam ball, so he's comfortable speaking about sports, and he gave a really good in-depth, deep understanding of the sport that from the inside, and I really enjoyed that. But that's just my opinion. I'll put that out there, and people could feel how they want to feel about it.
At the end of the day, that's what I end up saying a lot of time, is it's just my opinion, because I'm sure a lot of the guys from Summer Season 6 weren't always delighted with what I had to say, but I also will say that any sport, those guys could kick my ass, so I'll leave it at that. But thank you for listening. That in and of itself is great. Obviously, we're talking about the most recent season, Summer Season 6, and you just talked there about people who wanted to get on the floor and knew how challenging it was. When the new season was announced, was there any part of you that thought I should still be out there playing, or were you immediately like, no, I'm going to be part of the background?
No, I mean, playing right now, I'm 43. So playing, this is going to do what? just like shrunk my ego. I know I can go out there and still get buckets and play slam ball. I just know how to do that. And plus, the world hasn't learned how to play slam ball yet. So it's pretty difficult to catch up to how much experience I have playing the game. So just knowing the tempo, the speed, and where people are going to be at, where to place the passes, stuff like that. How to play the stopper, the timing, like that's pretty difficult. So of course I can get out there, but what is that going to do for the sport, right? I'm worth more to this sport, on the back end, like behind the scenes, creating a training program. What people don't know is that's what I did. I created the whole training program, and I taught all the guys how to play slam ball when they first came in. And then I got the coaching job, like last minute, so I wasn't even prepared to coach, and I had to switch on to a coaching hat. So if I came in coaching just immediately, I wouldn't have been able to influence the whole league and teach them. You see how it trickles down, right? So who else is going to teach them except for the guys that know how to teach? So we had a lot of the players came in and helped out, and now ex-players are coaches, which are the best thing that can happen, outside of the guys that already coached before that really took on to coaching, like Brendan Kirsch and Coach H, Hernando, Stapleton, Coach Carter, those guys, they really got into the game and understood the ins and outs of the game. So I respect that. But we had coaches before like John Starks and these other like big names that I was looking at them kind of, no disrespect, but I was like, man, get out of here, because you're not teaching me nothing. Now I'm at that time, I'm playing the game and I got to coach the game at the same time because I'm coaching my team. So I just really enjoy like seeing the old guys come out there and help out and influence the sport. But I don't, not for 1 second, want to be like, hey, I should just go out there and play, because it just would be meaningless for sure.
Did you feel any sense of pressure being put in the position of the one that had to train this new generation of slam ball? Was there any part of you that was nervous about that experience, or were you confident in your abilities as a coach?
No, this is my life. I've been doing this. When people thought that slam ball was gone and it was on break, I wasn't on break. I was still doing slam ball. So I was still developing the sport. And I trained. I don't know how many thousands of people, and how many thousands of trainers I've trained and coaches I've trained. I can't even tell you the number, so I'm very comfortable with teaching slam. That's my job. That's what I do. It's my profession. So was I nervous? No, I was excited to see these new guys. And now I get to come back to America and teach these American guys how to do this stuff. This was like, kid in a candy store for me. I was ready to go. So yeah, and the guys that we had were really receptive to learning something new and accepting slam ball. So that was really cool too.
You're obviously referencing there what we talked about off the top, your credentials as director for SlamBall Asia. What is the situation for SlamBall Asia now? Because my only window into it is the footage we can find online of the last time that like the US SlamBall was doing tours in China. So like the footage you can find from like 2016, I think, is the most recent stuff. What is the landscape like for SlamBall Asia today?
It's hard to say. I mean, of course, we're getting a lot of good feedback from Series 6. There's some talks and negotiations that's going around. Not nothing I can really say that's definite. I don't want to put something out that, or jinx something or anything like that. But definitely there's some talks. And China is not the only place that's talking, so yeah, slam ball it should be a worldwide sport by now. I don't know what's going on, but we're still, people are still catching up. I know we was ahead of our time back in 2000, but I think now society is kind of accepting this a lot more. So I would, I wouldn't be surprised if something in other countries starts working pretty soon.
Okay, back to summer season 6 in the US. You recently debuted the Shake the Game Up podcast, which is an official SlamBall podcast on the SlamBall website. In episode 1, I want to ask, why did you feel the need to clarify that it was Mason Gordon that really put a focus on bounce downs onto the island? Because that was something you were like, I want to let people know.
Yeah, because of I know that people could say that my style of play is a big influence on the league, and that's the thing that we got to get away from. You know, I want people to get away from that because the way I played slam ball was an innovative way for people to move around the springs with the ball. At first, once you either get in and you out, that's it. There was no stand in the springs. There was no way to move around and do all these other things. And I created that because there was a need for that. You know, it doesn't mean it was my style of play. That's the way you play slam ball. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I wanted to clarify. And I didn't want people to think that I'm coming in with this motive of making everyone play the way that I played. No, these are the skills that you practice on. This is the way you play slam ball. You go and bring your creativity to it. That's how it was. So that one rule, that bounce down rule that came into play during training camp and was a big deal during training camp. And it kind of raised some eyebrows, and some of the coaches didn't like it. And you know, it just kind of like ruffled some feathers a little bit. And I just wanted to clarify that wasn't my call, you know. And I do what the boss says. You get what I'm saying? So if we say you want to teach the bounce down, I teach the bounce down. If you know, either way, I was going to teach the bounce down, but it was the way you get to the island was the issue right at that point. We was changing up some rules that we didn't have before.
Right. In terms of training this entire new generation of SlamBall US players, what was the most exciting part of that process for you as someone who, like you say, you've been doing this for 10 plus years, but away from the eye in the US, and now getting the opportunity to say, well, these are all the guys that I've trained. What was the most exciting part of that process for you?
Just meeting all the new guys, you know, seeing all these new young guys come in. And you know, first of all, we're excited because slam ball is back. You know, that's the first thing. And then now just, you know, whatever we did in that training camp was going to be put on the floor and showcased. So having that responsibility was great. Like, you know, we get to make a piece of art and then show the world what we created. You know what I'm saying? So that was really, and then just getting to know these guys and the new generation of you know, athletes, these young guys, their mentality, and it was a lot. It's just a whole lot that you can be excited about every day. You know, going to work. That's your job to go do that. That's perfect. I'll do that. I'm excited.
Who was someone that you saw take to the core elements of slam ball the fastest? Obviously, we've heard that Bryce Meringue was like a natural with everything. Is he the obvious answer, or was there someone else that just like ducked to water, understood the concept fast?
Yeah, Bryce, Tony, Gage, you know, those guys took on really, really fast. I'm trying to think. Ty McGee caught on pretty fast too. And of course, both Cams,
right.
Cam Hollins and Cam Horton.
Yeah.
Those guys. And Dak was a no-brainer. Darius Clark was a no-brainer. He didn't move around the springs as well, but him just taking off, and he used to just crash out easily. And he used to crash to his seat, you know, from high in the air, like without nobody teaching him that. And that was really, really awesome to see. So yeah, like those few guys, and I might be missing a couple more, so I hope they don't get mad at me. But there was a good, you know, 10 guys that kind of caught our eyes immediately, you know.
Right. You mentioned there earlier that you took over the coaching role sort of unexpectedly from, I believe Coach Stapleton was supposed to continue to be head of the Slashers, and you took over rather last minute. I know it's been mentioned on the SlamBall Nation podcast with Coach Kirsch and Coach Planels. They mentioned that he had some health issues, which is why you stepped in. How close to the beginning of the season did that change happen?
No, that happened right before the draft. Right before the draft. So I really got the job right as we were entering the draft. So I basically almost had to follow, you know, Coach Stapleton's draft list.
Right.
You know,
So
that's how that.
you didn't have any input on the, well, not didn't have any input, but I'm assuming he had like, here are the people I'm looking at. This is my suggestion to you. Was that sort of the situation you ended up in?
He had some suggestions. Sorry, he had some suggestions on paper, and then Myrie was there too. Myrie's my assistant coach, and he did a really good job. He was already evaluating, so he knew who the guys were. But it's not like I didn't know who those guys were because I'm teaching them the whole time. But I'm looking at everybody, not just the certain players, and I'm not thinking about a system that I want to run and who will fit into that system. I don't even have a system at that point. I came in with some plays and some systems that I drew up in case we had to help out with coaching, see who was lacking or who needed some help at some areas. And hey, here go a couple plays, here go a system, here go a route that you can run. I had that type of stuff. So I knew what I could do, but I didn't have my whole thing just figured out. So I just went for the guys that I started piecing together, the guys that some guys I was on the list, and then the list got kind of like short, and then I started seeing who was available and then what players will work with the guys that I already had. So that's how the draft worked for me. And to be honest, I got Tony on the steal. I don't know what the hell they was doing. I kept looking like they're not gonna. Oh, and they came around to me, and I got. Wow, it was like, oh, okay, this is. And I knew he was gonna be mad because he got picked in like the third round or fourth round, something like that. It was crazy. So I know he was gonna be pissed off and have a little chip on his shoulder. I was like, perfect,
That helps you. That helps you to have
that
a
helped.
guy
That helped a lot.
who is the star, but no one else sees it, and you know that that's just going to piss him off more. That's great. That's a really handy thing.
Yes, yes. And I got a story to tell you about with Tony. When Tony first came, it took him about maybe 2 days before he started challenging me. He said, "No, man, let me see what you got. Oh man, I bet you I'll dunk you right now. This is a little 5'4" guy or 5'5". I don't know. I forgot how tall he is, but he gets up on without the springs and all that stuff. So and that's his profession as a dunk guy. So he just I think he got enough of everyone talking about what I used to do or what I could do, and I want to see it now. So what you got? So that was cool, and that kind of made me understand like who he was, because he's not backing down from anything. And I like that type of personality. People thought that it would be a little bit like, why would he say that, like disrespect for something? It's like, no, if people don't come at you, then they don't want it. They don't want that. So that was cool.
For some people, that is respect to see you as the best guy there. They're like, well, I want to show you that I'm on your level. That's them showing respect.
Yes, that's how I took it for sure.
Was there anyone else that very early on was like, I think I can take you, or was Tony the only one with that level of confidence?
All the guys really had confidence. I don't say that. I guess I'll talk about Tony more because I ended up sharing more time with him and Amir and Bradley, Alonzo, Scott, Carshins, my stopper. He came late too, and he did really good for us. And my other guys that was supporting, Nardine and these guys, I spent a lot more time with them individually because I ended up coaching. I had, even though I did in training camp while we're going through the team practices, I still made for anybody that can come back, like for the last hour and a half, 2 hours of the day. And then I will run them through some drills, or we'll talk about scenarios that they need to watch out for. But I think I just talk about Tony more because he was our team leader. And that was just a cool thing that happened. But that doesn't take away from all the other guys and how their confidence was. I've seen all these guys grow, and they wasn't backing down. They was ready to do. You could see it in their eyes when they got on the court. They was like, "Hey, I love this stuff, man. I'm gonna tear it up," and they did. They did.
At the end of the season, I was very fortunate
Fessel Shafat.
He challenged you.
I seen him. He wanted to. He was. One time we was in practice, and I just seen he parked in front of our practice and ate his food and just watched it. So I'm like, man, you gotta go. He looked at me like I think I wanted. And every time we played him, I think he probably played the best even though he killed it, he was a very dominant stopper. But I think he wanted to do a little bit more when he played the slashers.
Of course. One of the things I got to do at the end of this latest season SlamBall was the first ever anonymous SlamBall player poll, where I asked like a bunch of the guys in the league a series of questions about how this first season had gone, and got their anonymous, unbiased, like as honest as they could be answers to things. And that included questions like who was the most underrated player, who was the most overrated player. And one of the names that came up for a potential overrated player was Tony Crosby II. Where do you think some guys in the league might get that opinion of him from? Where do you think that idea might come for them?
That he's underrated?
That he's overrated. He was someone that was brought up as overrated, yeah.
I don't know how they could say he's overrated. I don't know if we're going by, what are we going by, stats? Or
just the opinions of the players. In the video that I did going through these answers, I tried to, for the underrated guys, explain why they were underrated. For the overrated guys, sort of explain why I think that attitude was there. And for Tony, the only answer I could give was that he had all these highlights and that he had these stats and things like that. But I suppose for other players, they're going, well, maybe whatever, we beat them, or we had a really close game with them. And just because he's got all these highlights doesn't mean they're winning or whatever it might be. But again, at the end of the day, it wasn't me that said that. It's other players in the league who are looking at him and going, yeah, I think he's got a bigger reputation than his play is.
Well, I mean, everyone has their opinion, and, you know, everyone's opinion is their opinion, and, you know, that's fine. I mean, I've seen Tony dominate some games, and, you know, I've seen him also, you know, facilitate, you know, some games. I've seen him pass the ball and get his guys involved. Did he have a good cast? Yeah, he had some really good players around him too, you know. He went to the championship, you know, we lost to the Mob. We couldn't beat the Mob. Everybody else we beat. So
Okay.
I don't know where the overrated could come from, except for maybe they're tired of hearing his name. And
very much. We started this conversation by talking about you taking over the Slashers from Coach Stapleton, who obviously you've known for a very long time at this point. What's your relationship like with Coach Stapleton?
Coach Stapleton is one of the first SlamBall coaches. He's one of the nicest people, man. And, you know, doesn't mean that he doesn't get what he needs, you know, out of the players. He works hard, tough guy, always talking about defense and strategy. He really, really studies the game and understands the game really well. Like, I asked the coaches, you know, the training department had put some guidelines together when we was looking for coaches, for SlamBall coaches, and we asked them to give us, you know, their playbooks, like, let's see what you guys are doing, as far as, so we know what kind of offense we're going to be running. And Stapleton gives us a whole notebook of stuff, you know, handwritten, you know, and nicely drawn stuff. So he's taking care of, you know, SlamBall since he started. He's always been someone that I looked up to, like, you know, like a mentor out there, because, you know, I was 19 or 20 when I first started, and, you know, he was the older person I really respected. So being able to coach with him in Series 6, you know, was dope. You know, I got to pick his brain and see what he was thinking and how he was thinking, how he you know, how he puts together practices and stuff like that. So that was really cool to be with him for as a coach.
You were thrown into that role very last minute. I assume mostly because you were the best option at such a late stage of the game to take over that role. Did you enjoy being a coach for SlamBall, or was it just a thing you had to do?
No, I enjoyed it. But anything SlamBall, I enjoy. You know, like, you know, I'm just like I told you, I listen to everybody that talks SlamBall. Anything with SlamBall, trust me, I'm watching, or I'm listening, or I'm involved. Sometimes I'm trying, you know, I'm gonna be around it. Coaching was a different thing because I was like, okay, it's a good challenge. You know, this is a challenge. Now, you know, I came in with training, you know, training all the players and all these different type of ways of thinking about SlamBall, and now I get to put that use, you know, and for me, it gave me validation also saying, hey, my strategies work also, so that helped me out moving forward, once the sport progresses in a way where we have more people around, and that more coaches and more players. That still gives me my validation because I've done every piece of SlamBall now.
Okay. Coach Kirsch mentioned on the SlamBall Nation podcast that you've been talking about maybe not coaching next season, or I should say, not being a head coach for a team. Why are you considering that?
It depends on what matters the most, what's needed. The people just see the sport being played. There's a whole truck, a media team, and all. There's a whole lot of moving parts. And we're still a small company. So everyone wearing multiple hats. And I just want the best product out there. So whatever I have to do in order to help, put out the best product, that's what I want to do. If everything else is taken care of and I get a chance to coach again and be out there and get my team and try to go back again, I would love that. But if I can't at the moment because of there's other things to do that we're responsible for, then I need to do that also. So it's really I really want to focus on what works the best.
And like you say there, your focus is on the best product, and I feel like everyone at minimum in management for SlamBall, but I think you could also say the coaching staff and a lot of the bigger name players as well. Everyone has that same attitude of they just want the entity of SlamBall to do the best that it can. Do you think that's luck that you've managed to get a group of people together that all have that same goal, or has SlamBall been very selective about who it keeps involved?
Yeah, we have to be selective right now. It's still new. We're still trying our best to put our best foot forward. So we have to pretty much hand select the people that we want to be involved, because we need people that care, that really appreciate their position, and really want to see this game evolve into what we all think it could be. So for coaches, yeah, it's a tight circle, and it's competitive because that within that tight circle, there's still a lot of good SlamBall minds that's there. So they're still battling, and that makes it fun too. Because now the guys that know the sport more, we have something to compete about also. Like they're trying to win their coaching spot, or there's a coordinator spot. People are trying to come out of the coordinator spot to get a head coaching spot. So it's really fun work environment because it's all competitive, but it's constructive competition. You get what I'm saying? So like everyone's just trying to make each other better, and we all share the same goal.
At the same time as you were coaching, you were also the vice president of operations and player relations. Did that feel like a complicated position to be in when you were also the coach for a specific team, where you had your group of guys, but you're also supposed to be the touchstone for the whole, every player involved? Was that an awkward position to be in at all?
For a moment, it was, because I was still doing both sides at one point, towards early in training camp, like team training, and I had to put down some things in order to pay attention to my team, in order to just that team camaraderie. I can't keep going back and helping every other player when this team is trying to win a championship. So I can't go back and keep helping these other players and keep helping this person. I can't do that, and so I had to put some things down. I had at one point I had to tell the team too, like, hey, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop doing that because I really want you guys to understand that I made a commitment to coach the slashers, and that's where my attention should be at.
With that team and with the strategy throughout the season, to the untrained eye, early on, it did look like the game plan as a team on offense was play through Tony. He's going to try and score, and if he can't score, he'll facilitate. Is that fair to say that the team was built around him early on?
Yeah, he was our main ball handler, him and Bradley. And Bradley was in training, in practice, running the same sets as Tony. Bradley just got more comfortable on the wing because he actually knew what he was doing out there. He was reading the stopper bounce. So a lot of those things that while we gave the ball to Tony a lot was to get Bradley and Zoe open, and Amir. Like if Tony had the ball, everybody paid attention to him. It's an easy dish off. So we were sending guys high, sending guys low, or we spread it out, get our stopper coming up the middle. We can get a lot done just by having Tony have the ball because he attracted the eyes. If that didn't work, we would have switched it up. But but they kept every time he got the ball, they paid attention to him. So that we used it. A lot of times Tony was the decoy.
Is it difficult to build a team around a single player, whether it be like you say as a facilitator or the guy who's gathering the eyes? You're still building a team around one guy. Are there any difficulties that come with having a strategy centered around one player?
No, I think that we did a really good job of disguising that as a one-player team. We're an offense that was built around one player. That was the whole decoy. So I think we did that. We ran that pretty well because we had a really good team. If you look at all the stats, Zoe sometimes had a few games he might be on. Bradley might really be on one few games. Some games Amir might really be on. Sometimes Carson's might be hitting. Sometimes we got Naradine that was striking really hard. And we fed to what was working, right? And then we played on what was working to decoy and then dish it off to the opposite side or get somebody off the one bounce, one tramp lob, or then we get Tony faking and then coming back around and then we got somebody going low and we trying to mistime the stopper. So it wasn't hard doing that because it wasn't building the offense around one player. We just knew that Tony would take care of the ball so we can get into the springs. That's how we wanted to play. We wanted to make sure that we spread the floor and we get into the springs and get what we want, not what they're giving us. And a lot of teams were just winging it. You know what I mean? So, and just, whatever the defense allows them to get, and they'll try to take that. But our system was a little bit more complex than people would imagine, for sure.
And it got you to the finals of the season 6. So clearly it was. Clearly it was working. What were the biggest changes you had to make as a head coach over the course of the season? What was something that you thought this isn't working or this we need to do more of? What comes to mind when I ask that?
What do we need to work on more?
Or what do you felt was the biggest change you had to make throughout the season? I mean, it's obviously a 5-week season at most. It's not the longest, but there's still enough time and enough games in there that you go, we need to make a change.
Yeah, our defense, we had to check. I mean, the offense is always evolving, right? Because game by game, sorry about that. Game by game, we had to make sure that you're not giving the same looks each time, right? Because the stopper is going to be involved and he's going to catch your timing. The defense around the springs are going to know your timing and try to keep guys out. But the defense for us, so that I'll stay on the offense for right now. The offense had to evolve because throughout the middle of the season, we had to change up some of the looks. We knew that coming in. We knew that. On defense, we had to do a different strategy. Our defense wasn't working for a while. So we had to really, really tighten up our defense, our defensive strategy. I don't want to give away too many tips of what we were trying to do right now until I'm not coaching no more, but we really... I really had to I had to learn some new things. I had to teach, really sit down and think about some things and teach myself something new in order to go out there and test it, try it, see what works, and then in the game keep an eye out on what's going on defense also, and then keep evolving the way that we play defense. So that was one of the things that we had to that was probably the most complicated thing to figure out.
So were you seeing things this season with the new generation of American talent and with coaches, some of them coming back for the first time in years, were you seeing things that you haven't seen while coaching in China for the last couple of years? Was there still stuff that you're seeing that's totally brand new? Or is it all things you've seen before because you've done all of this a million more times than anybody else?
That I think that's the thing. I don't want to sound like, oh, it's not like because they all had their own thing, their own style. Everyone has their own thing. I don't want people to think that I think no one did something innovative, right? Like for sure, like everybody was doing their thing. But I've been around SlamBall for so many years, right? And teaching it and showing it and demonstrating and the shows and playing and so a lot of the things I definitely have come across, like there might be some things that I might be missing that I didn't see because I didn't get to see every single game, that happened Series 6 because I was either coaching or I was doing something else. And I'm constantly going through the archive of games trying to get better. So I'm definitely looking at stuff and I'll review more film to see what those things are. When if I spot something I haven't seen before, I want to tell everybody like, hey, look at this. This is, but I think the whole style of play overall, in my opinion, was an upgrade. I know people are saying, oh, they wasn't hitting, they don't do this and they don't do that. I'm like, man, shut up, because we can't play no more. We want to say that they not doing this and that. Like, shut the hell up. Appreciate what they did. They had a very limited amount of time to learn the sport. For the first time, they never played this game before. Very limited amount of time to learn the sport. Very limited amount of time to work with their team and build like team chemistry and a team system. And then the very short season to showcase what they can do. You get what I'm saying? So what they did was amazing. You know what I'm saying? And the way the game looks now, it looks like now everyone can come play the sport. It doesn't look like I'm gonna come out there and twist my neck off and or I gotta just like take a football decleat hit every single play. Like that's not what the game is about. The game is beautiful when it's spaced out and you get to see the strategy unfold. And then you see how the plays get set up. Like the guys that played when in Series 6, it would have been more difficult to go run so fast and like on a fast break like old SlamBall. It would have been more difficult this past season because guys are checking that. They're staying in front of their man. They're not just overplaying and reaching and trying to overhit, just to make some huge play. I ate off all that extra physicality, in the old SlamBall because you can't hit me. But I know you want to fully commit, hit me every single play. I really can walk down the court because you're gonna overplay. You're gonna get unbalanced. And as soon as you're done, I got a wide open lane. That's how SlamBall was. Now it's not like that. You don't see the guys overplaying and reaching for this huge hit that doesn't affect the game in any way, right? What is that gonna do, right? If you hit him really hard, what does that impact the play?
I feel like
so I think
I should be hesitant to point out that Tony Crosby had the most hits this season. But I feel like I to your point, they're probably more effective than they would have been back in the day, the ones he's making.
Yeah, I mean, the hits are good. It's good for the TV, and it's good for everyone to see that. I mean, the physicality is still there in the sport. Like it's still physical. Those guys are just trying to make sure that they maintain their bodies as well. Like they're not trying to just, not play the next game, or the next season. You get what I'm saying? Like I think that they're doing a really good job. We had a good trainer. Joe is our head trainer. And all those guys I was on Joe's staff, that they kept the guys, their bodies, in good condition. They managed the amount of time that they had in practice to bang and go full speed. And I really like the way we handled this because now it's a sport that can last, not just, this one and done and this all, and everyone's, walking around limping and hurting because of the body, because, it shouldn't be like that.
I think to your point as well of fans online who are going, oh, it's not like it used to be, or they don't hit as hard or whatever it might be. They are not quite realizing that a lot of what they saw back in the day was an edited TV product. So they're not seeing every single second of gameplay. Whether it's in modern SlamBall, it's all live on television. So every little mistake or every little thing that goes wrong that you would get in any other sport, you're seeing for the first time in slam ball, because for a lot of people, their memory is like the season 1, season 2, where it was an edited product for television. And so it's such a different thing to then come back to.
Right. Now this is a live game now. So, back in the day, you go back, after it's done, and you take out all those sloppy plays that we had where the ball just went flying for no reason, because the passing wasn't there, or some teams like the Bandits didn't have, nobody at all and couldn't, win no games. And, it was bad for TV, right? Bad for the sport. So, but now we got, all 8 teams have really good players on them, and everyone was putting up a fight. It was a good game every game. So it's more exciting to watch now.
100%.
I like the new slam ball.
And I think
Not to discredit the old slam ball, because I really enjoyed it. I love slam ball, and I think I would have liked to play slam ball now, but I doesn't mean I wouldn't love still playing slam ball when I did, because it was still fun as hell.
Of course. Talking about slam ball now, and you said talking about the future and going forward, obviously from a fan's perspective, we know that the ESPN deal is minimum 2 years. So there's at least another season coming is the expectation. And as a fan, the announcements of like what was happening for last season all came rather fast, where it was like training camp starting. These are the names of teams. The season is now. It all happened really quickly. Versus, for instance, right now, less than a week ago, you were already putting on Instagram, if you're interested in playing season 7 slam ball, contact me, contact these people, contact this person. Why has the recruitment drive for new players started already, when from a fan's perspective, there's like another 9 months until the season starts, potentially?
I mean, because you're always looking for talent, right? I mean, searching for talent should never stop. You never know who you're going to run into. So you just keep the door open. And then, I think we're still going to be real selective about who we invite, even though we have a whole list of, these guys that want to play. And, we still might narrow down the list and only invite, a selected few. We still only have 8 teams. A lot of the guys are returning. Some of the guys would still, want their spot, and so it's going to be difficult to narrow it down. One thing I think we might do is just open up more roster spots, on each team. So that might give us a little bit more of a deeper bench, which is good. I don't think we're going to make another team just based off as more people that want to play. I think that we just beef up, each team. Man, each team is going to be super strong. Man, we go back at it again, but this time with guys that have experience, and that's what we haven't seen yet. Experienced guys on the floor now with some new talent. And they have people that can guide them along the way, along with the coach. You have the coaches on the floor also.
Well, I know you were saying that there's discussion of like having more roster spots. I'm sure I've heard elsewhere that the idea is maybe to have 8-man rosters, and then each roster would have 2 essentially squad players. So like in essence, like a squad of 10, and then before every game or every week, whatever it might be, you say, these are the 8 guys who are available to play in this game. The other 2 are sitting out. That's what's been discussed by the SlamBall League. So I suppose if you think of it that was on SlamBall Nation.
Oh, well, we haven't made that rule up yet.
No. So. I just saw that was a thing that was like a potential thing that was a maybe. I'm not saying that's definitely happening.
Yeah, I'm just saying we haven't even talked about that.
Right. Okay. If something like that was the option, that obviously adds quick maths in my head, another 24 guys just to roster spots. If that was where you were going for, and so like you say, there's no point in starting a whole new team if you can instead just beef up the teams that already exist and give them more options and less risk when it comes to, I think everyone always talks about the wrath from this season, where all of a sudden they had a couple injuries and it totally changed the look of their team. And if you get more people into each squad, then that totally changes when things like that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind having, we used to have 8, 9 guys on the team back when we used to do it. So that would be great. We did narrow it down to 7 on each team for the SlamBall Series 6. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the talk. We haven't had those discussions yet. Um, I don't think it's time for that right now, but once we get closer to the series, it'll be talked about and discussed, so we'll know exactly what we're doing before we start open up training camp. So it'll be more to talk about then. As of now, we did get some really good feedback from ESPN.
Right.
So they're really interested, and they want to showcase us on in a bigger, support us in a bigger way for Series 7. So that's really big news. I think that's the thing we can lean on right now. But as far as making the changes to the league right now, I wouldn't be able to talk about that. We haven't discussed anything.
Okay. You mentioned though that you said a lot of the guys are interested in coming back. Have conversations already happened with the guys that have been involved, like in a serious sense, in terms of like, here is the offer to come back? Or was it more of a, if we offered it, would you be interested? Or have there been like genuine offers given to players from the last season already?
No, so we've done like some off-season training stuff to try to keep the guys, all talking and to keep that camaraderie around with our guys. So, like I said, our head trainer, Joe, he's put together a really cool program, online program that he can kind of like, reach out to. He puts them all on the app. So everyone that we reached out to, they're on the app. And they get these daily, training regimens that there's, they can tap in and complete. It's not part of their job or anything. We're just doing it because we care about the guys in the off season. We want some of the guys to kind of bulk up too. We want some of the guys, to make sure that they're strengthening their ankles and their knees and, just keeping their bodies together, which most of them are doing that on their own, but we just want to make sure we have that extra layer, and then we just want to take care of our guys and just be around them and talking and stuff, so that's how that happened. There are some guys that opted out to not do that, which is fine too, but I think everyone that plays SlamBall, I haven't seen one guy that plays SlamBall say I don't want to come back. I never came across that, so I'm pretty sure, the way that we're scheduling the tournament and the tryouts and the training and all that stuff, it doesn't compete with any other sport that they're doing. So they wouldn't have a scheduling conflict or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure everybody would be ready to go once we, say we're starting.
When you say the tournament, you mean Series 7, or are these the
Series 7?
Okay, because there were conversations had about potential off-season tournaments happening. One or two of them, hopefully, between now and next season. Is there any movement on that? Obviously, nothing's been announced officially, so there's no to go off.
Well, you got to tell me what are the things which tournaments are you referring to?
So I know that there had been conversations about the potential to do smaller tournaments, like while we wait for Series 7 to come up, that maybe didn't include all the players. There were conversations had about places in the US that it might be taking part. There was also conversations I had where very, very early discussions about maybe this is something that can go international, but that was unlikely. Are any of these things that are closer to happening, or is it just all focus is on Series 7?
I think the main focus is Series 7. Main focus is Series 7 because that's our biggest outlet. I mean, even if we did go play somewhere else, I think it would just be to get the guys back on the floor and, keep their timing, right? Keep them playing, because this is not like basketball. You can't just go somewhere and go play it somewhere else. You can't. There's nowhere else to play it. So that's the thing that sucks right now. But so that would be the only reason why we would do something like that, or off season. But the main focus is Series 7. We want to make sure that we come back even better than the last season, for sure.
When you were playing, did you find that was the hardest part, the fact that you couldn't just go somewhere and practice between seasons? Was that a big challenge for you personally?
Not necessarily, because everyone's in the same boat. So, it's not like someone else has the advantage and I don't, so we're in the same boat. When they give us a call, ready to go, we ready to go. Whoever stays in shape on their own determines how you're going to do. So some guys were in shape when we called back, some guys weren't. And it's not like we had a fleet of people that knew how to play slam ball when we was ready to go to another country and play slam ball. It's only a selected few we could really call on. So, that's it's a problem we're trying to fix now. We need our court. We need a facility that is going to be a standing slam ball facility, but it's not here right now. But there's definitely something we're trying to fix for sure.
Right. My last question, I guess, about SlamBall season 6 was, I'm sure this part I don't remember as clearly, but I'm sure there was a conversation had preseason about that it was all like everything to do with SlamBall was being filmed for potential like documentary series. Is that something am I remembering that correctly? Was that a potential thing that was happening?
Yeah, no, we're definitely filming everything. Everything is we're in a digital age, man. So content is everything. So of course, if they're going around filming every single part, documenting every single part.
Is that any closer to is there any idea about when that might be coming out, or is that still long into
No, there's no date on it right now. There's no date. We don't know, but I guess you still got to play it out too. It's too early to drop a documentary on something that just came, in my opinion,
Right.
So I think we need to gather more and see where this goes. You know what I'm saying? See where this goes and let's see what the ending of the documentary look like.
Okay, perfect. I like that as well. What's the ending going to be? Awesome. Well, thank you very much for talking to me, Stan Fletcher, greatest slam ball player of all time, head coach of the Slashers, very heavily involved in slam ball behind the scenes. Can you let people know where they can find you and what products they should be looking into beyond just obviously your awesome new podcast we were talking about as well?
Oh, I'm on Instagram, Stanley Fletcher Jr. across the board. Any type of social media, you find me, Stanley Fletcher Jr. Appreciate coming on with you. You're awesome. I appreciate everything you're doing. Everybody that talks about slam ball is helping out and doing their part to make this thing something that sticks. Coach Kirsch and Hernando have a really cool podcast with us, All Nation. That's dope. All the guys, all the players, all the coaches, ex-players, all that, everybody's doing their job, and I'm just excited. I'm excited for the next season.
Me too. We need to get to season 8 because you need to, the numbers on the wall behind you. It needs to happen. I'm calling it now. Head coach of the Slashers will win season 8. That's got to be what happens.
Okay. All right.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for being here. Thank you to those listening and those watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we cannot wait for more slam ball back in our lives.
Appreciate it, Sam.
Thank you.